Bon. Bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue à notre réunion extraordinaire du 22
Good
avril.
evening. Welcome to our special meeting of April 22nd. First, our clerk, Mr. Montreuil, is on vacation this week, so I would need a motion just to appoint by interim clerk. So, Joël, if you would like to read the motion. You press your button first. Call to order. Beatrice are confirmed to Article 73 on Local Governance Act that the Council nominates our CAO by interim for this special meeting of the Council as of April 22nd, 2024. Moved by Joël Després, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette-Boudreau. All in favor, saying aye. Against nay. It's been carried. Thank you very much. Like every meeting, I think, please note that we are gathering on the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So, Mr. Clerk, by interim, we do have quorum. Everyone is here and one member remotely and one absent. Councillor Galland because of this death in her family. Number 3, declaration of conflict of interest. Any council members would like to declare a conflict of interest on the 3 items on the agenda? Thank you. None. Adoption of the agenda. So we have 3. Bridge project, street asphalt patching, and Main Street upgrade. So I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, moved by Councillor Emile O'Brien. He said he had another name, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you. All in favor, saying aye. Against nay, motion carried. Thank you. So first, the Bow Bridge project, Bellevue Heights. So Mr. Theo will give you like a quick update. So thank you. So we'll ask our municipal operations director to go through. It's more familiar. So I just wanted to apologize for the third item because we could only send it today. So it was included on the agenda public last week. Friday, we didn't think it would be ready for this evening, but today there were other developments, so it was really important to go through this evening. So I apologize for having it at the last minute. So we'll take the time to explain it in details and answer your questions. But the first one is extension of Bow Bridge Street and Bellevue and the reconstruction of rebuilding of Bellevue Heights. So I will ask him to good detail. Mr. McQueen, so no problem. So we went to call to tender for the project for the Bellevue Heights projects and the Bow Bridge extension. So the results we got were, you're listed there. So we got 6 bidders on this project with they're quite close for cost, so we had a good competitive bid, but the lowest bidder was a little bit higher than our budget. So the lowest bidder 6.46 million with the net HST, East Coast Construction Inc. And the budget for this was 5.8 millions. The net HST included. So we had a discussion. We had meeting with the lowest bidder to try to see what he could do to modify the scope of the project, so it would be within our budget. So with the few items we remove for this to reach the budget of of the reduction. So the extension for Bow Bridge, it goes farther than Bellevue Heights. So we kind of shorten it of what we were doing for this year project, and it made a difference. So it will not have the impact of the ability to travel on those roads. So it's just like a dead end, and we'll be able to continue. So when we do like the next phase, like for the Bow Bridge extension, and there is also like the seal for this project. So there were major phasings like to remove it from this year's budget, and it would be done like the following year. So it would be another project just to seal it. So with those two items, like there were two items that were a little bit less to maybe shorten like the sidewalk and the trail, like higher than the roundabout. So it came as something that was not really necessary, like for the project at this moment, and we reduced the contingency of the construction that was mentioned in the budget. 300,000 to 150,000. So we had reached an agreement with the contractor, so he signed on it, as saying he was on board with this, and this is to recommend to go forward with this one. Thank you, Bob. Councillor Janice Cormier, I will read the motion. Bow Bridge and Bellevue Heights project be it resolved to award like the contract for the extension of Bow Bridge Street and the reconstruction of Bellevue Heights to East Construction in for a value of $5,835.75. Net HST included. The funds will be coming from the funding request approved by the borrowing board of the municipalities New Brunswick. So I shall move by Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Question on the motion. Councillor Cormier, question. Bob, you said like we would not do the seal this year. So you mean the top coat, right? And will it have impact like to spend one winter without any top coat? So it would cost us more because during the winter like could damage more? No, we're not seeing any problem like this. But in fact, some municipalities, like they just seal it like the following year. So when they have a project, they scope, because there's some bit of settlement being done, it can be done, and then we could level the seal. Councillor Paul Boudreau says, just a question, like for the budget, Victor, like when we presented like the list of capital projects. So this project was a price tag of $6,081,000. So you said the budget was 5.7 million. So why is there a difference? Is it for borrowing? So how? Because I have the same question like for 5.7 million. So I'm asking one question before the other. So yes, we'll answer this one first. So I will get my file first. I don't have a problem with the motion. So I just want to know what the 6,081,000 came from. Was it just a forecast, Bob, or? So when we went to tender, you have to add two amounts. So you have like, so in the application, like you had the services like for transportation, and there are also like the environmental services, which is section O. So we have to add those two amounts of 5,471,000 for the transportation services, and for the environmental hygiene services, 606,000. So it's 6 million. And you also have engineering fees, and they are above of those numbers. And the purchase also of land. And you remember there's two lottery purchases for the roundabout. So these are all expenses that are being added to the contract, or the preparation work. And and it's not part of the construction contract. So this one's not the big difference. This one, the difference is bigger, and we'll explain. So once we get there, thank you. So on this note, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Against nay? Carried. Thank you. 5.2 asphalt repair program. So once again, like it's an item we have every year, and I know like Bob seemed suggested to make a minor adjustment for to the contract before we award it. So I'll let Bob explain it to you, the rationale behind this adjustment. So for the asphalt patching contract, so we went to call to tender like for a unit item. So we have asphalt tonnage that we have in the contract, and we have like a certain number of square meters, like a mill and pave. So last year we did some asphalt, and we did the mill and pave like on part of Main Street, close to A&W and the bakery, you would probably remember. And we redid the intersection between Casey and Beaubridge, an example of those works. So this year, with the same asphalt tonnage, it was brought like for patching as such, and we also brought like in the mill and pave, but there seems to be a greater need. Like it was the same time like we were going to tender for this one, and it was the problems on Sebastien Street, and Sebastien Street, like at the bottom of Sebastien Street, close to Webster Street, we're starting like to see like major problems like for potholes, like and they're quite significant. And we decided we have to rebuild like on the structure of the road, maybe 16, 20 inches deep, and then remove the crushed stone and rebuild it for 100 meters, 93 meters to be exact. So we decided with the lowest bidder, so we had like competitive bids, and the lowest one was MacArthur's. So we had a discussion with them if they would be open to remove the mill and pave and substitute, like instead do some repairs on the Sebastien Street. So we met with them last week, and they came back with a quote that would reduce the price, and it was within our budget for the asphalt contract for 225,000. So this is the recommendation to go forward. Thanks for the explanation. So I would need a motion. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin? Yes, sir. Be it resolved to award the contract of 2024 for asphalt patching and resurfacing
and construction
MacArthur's Paving and a construction company incorporated for the sum 4,240, like HSC included. The fund will come 1-13075. This is for road patching. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. So thank you. The Councillor Cormier, remotely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the question on Sebastien Street. So the problem we have there, is it because there's frequently lots of water and it causes potholes? So the problem we see, like with the potholes, we don't think it's because there's a pond, like major rainfalls. It's not the same spot, and the water during the shower event, it's really far from that. So it's not because of this. Maybe just like the premature damage. So Councillor Paul Boudreau. I'm a little bit dizzy to remove like the mill grind and pave. So which section did you remove? So really like So it was like a unit, like knowing we would choose some spots. So we did not identify like any idea. So what did we start to do like 3-4 years ago? Like it's a good success. It's something good. It's a good practice. I think is it something we could get a report? So what you recommend, like for mill and pave, or I think it's an excellent job. Like it's a bit more expensive, but and I would like to add like this year. So we recommend also this scope because there's like an emergency problem, like but usually it would to keep mill and pave in the contract. I wouldn't want to see the budget modified, like to do something. It's a good practice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Paul Boudreau.
Sur la question.
All in favor, saying aye.
Contre, non.
Against, nay.
Adopté. Merci.
Motion carried. Thank you.
C'est une motion qui se lit mieux en anglais.
It's a motion that's easy to read in English because the patching, it's easier to say patching in English than rapiessage in French. Number 3. 5.3, like Main Street reconstruction. Mr. CEO, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this point, we added like by the end of the afternoon. And I'll let Bob explain like in details, but so the project, despite like the good quotes that we got, they were very close in prices, and the 3 like very reputable company of the region. So a bit more expensive than the budget we anticipated for this project. You would remember that we went to the borrowing board for an amount of 6.9 million for this project. And you see like the lowest quote did 8.9 million, but it includes like the 15% HSC. So we do get like a cash back of this on this. But there are 2 things that we could do so we could go forward with this project because it's an important project. First, it was already confirmed like we would get a grant from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure for this street, $1,072,000 that was confirmed in writing a couple of years ago. And on top of this, we're saying like possibly we might get like an adjustment to this amount because the department, they're aware of the markets and they know like all the projects, they're more expensive like over the last few years. So we were told like they are reviewing this. So we review this once again, and it's still $1 million that we would have deducted from the borrowed amount, but we still have a borrowing capacity of 6.9 million for the full amount. And you add the $1 million we're getting from the Department of Transportation, and also like the part for the majority of those projects. So we're doing also adding like the sewer component. So we send like the invoice to the sewer commission after. But usually this amount would be used to reduce the debt, but that could be applied like to the totality of the project. So it would give us like the total amount we would need. So we can go with the lowest bids. As we said, it's a project that is very important, like for many at many levels, and this section of Main Street. So we were a bit creative, and we think we still afford like to go forward with the project as defined initially, because otherwise we would have to cut some parts of the project, and I think it would be complicated. So I will let Bob explain of the bidding process. And I just wanted to give you a context for the funding. And we're comfortable, like we're confident we'll be able to pay for the project for the funding sources we have. And if we can get more money from the province, well, it would be better. So then we can have a smaller loan at the end of the project. So a lot of things you didn't mention, Mr. Boudreau, but I can add like the three bids once again for the price, and also like a 2% difference between the lowest. Like it's just an indication like it's competitive pricing. The three bases: Dexter Construction, Betrayal, and Modern. Dexter Construction is the lowest one with maybe 8.9, which HST included. And as we said, like to look at the scope of the project in this case, we saw it as a good option because like the time constraint, like they were quite extreme. Like we're not starting as earlier as we wanted. Like we're a couple of weeks late, like to get the final plans of the consultant before we could go to tender. So we're a little bit late, and it's a good opportunity if we can. We feel like we got a competitive price and we can go forward. And certainly by the end of the construction period, and we'll try like to finish the work before like the frost and snow. I think since all, I don't know if I had anything to add, but yes. But we were supposed to have another special meeting next Monday, but finally, so they were able like to settle the file and bring it for you. The Councillor Joël Desbris, so if you would read it. Construction upgrade bid resolved to award the contracts for the Main Street upgrade project up to Chesley Street dock to Dexter Construction Company LD for a value of $8,108,074. The HSH included. The funds will come from the funding approved by the borrowing board of the municipalities in New Brunswick and the grant from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure and DTI, and the refund from the Shediac and Sewer Commissions. I shall moved by Councillor Joël Desbris, seconded by Councillor Patricia Bourque-Chevary. Questions on the motion? Mrs. Deputy Mayor, so the quotes from the engineer, like a contract engineer or a home engineer, so certainly they will reassess like because I know like they have to do it very early because for our projects, but and the prices increase significantly, but because it's been many topics, like it's happening many times. So maybe the engineer might add a little bit of gravy, so it doesn't happen back to us. Like it shouldn't happen too often. So of course, like the market conditions, like it's very volatile, and the prices are increasing everywhere. They can make sure it's not only in Shediac, it's happening like almost all over. And people like to blame the pandemic. So the pandemic is over, but we're still facing like the same challenges. But with each contract like they get, we're able to trying to better estimate in the future. And as you were saying, like we even added like a little bit of cushion in our estimate. So before we went to the borrowing board, but we have to be realistic with. We cannot put too big of a cushion, but we might put more like in the future, so we do not get back in this type of situation. Just for a quick addition, it's a very stupid question. I'll ask it anywhere. So when we send all the bids, so they're not seeing like the estimates from the engineer because it would be nice to be under. I knew it was stupid. There's no stupid question. So they do not see like the estimates, but if someone really wanted to monitor what's happening, when we want like to present like to the boring board, but they do not see like the estimate. Councillor Paul Boudreau. So the contribution for the sewer commission, how is it calculated? Is it the 6.9 percentage of 6.9 million or 8.9? So this is the amount I given for them for the sewer system. So in this case, like the initial estimate, I think 725,000. So this is their option. This is the part of the work like to be done. So it's 20% more from what. So will they pay 20% extra for a contribution? So we have to do this calculation because the contribution might increase a little bit because they are adopting resolution based on the estimates from engineers, and then they will use the real numbers. So I think this exercise has to be done. So it was not done. So I'm hoping it's be calculated, but essentially they have to pay their share for their share of the project. So it might relieve us, maybe not millions, but each project is always divided in three parts. So there is a part paid by the water fund, the part paid by the sewer commission, and there's the part paid by the town for anything that's asphalt and the curb and these type of things. So each project is divided in three parts. Thank you. Councillor Emile O'Brien. So all those work being done, will it include like the trunk line? Is it the beginning of the trunk line, like from Dog Street that would go Riverside Drive, or is it? No? Bob, you might have to help me. So I said, you will remember like the sewer commission when they presented their master plan for the following year. So there were two phases of the project. So it was a new trunk line that was going from Route 15 and would go up to the sewer treatment. So it was mostly to solve the problem from the eastern part. There was also a phase 2 project. This one that would improve like the system for the pumping system at the end of Dog Street, and eventually like send a big percentage of their sewer up to a Riverside Drive to go close to Route 15, and then in this new like part. So the work we're doing on Dog Street is in preparation of this one, but it's a very small amount of the project. So the total project for I think it was over 20 millions. So the one we're doing on Dog Street. So we wouldn't have to build and reduce. And it was assessed like if it would be worth like to do something like this. So we wouldn't start doing some work and dig later. So we look if it makes sense, like on Dog Street, to send like the biggest pipe like that would be pumped, and so the right of way of this is so narrow. Like if we had this pipe, would only pipe up. So we decided like this pipe would have to go at the back of the properties. So really like there's nothing being done now that will prevent from doing this in the future. Thank you. Councillor Janice Cormier. Okay.
Yes. Ah, all right. Councilor Murray Lloyd. I'm sorry.
Councilor.
I pressed her button.
The reimbursement from the sewage commission, has that been finalized?
The original estimate has been through the commission. The original estimate was sent and was approved. The actuals based on the tender closing have not been shared, or might have been shared with them, but hasn't been through the board yet. That was just because the closing was for this project was on Friday.
Right.
So
Monday.
it's always a two-step process. So
Yeah.
we send them the original estimates. And my understanding is they go to the board with that to get an initial approval. And then once the tender closes, Bob and the team will be resubmitting to Joey and his team the revised based on the actual tenders. And then that has to go back to the board
Thank you.
of the commission.
Sounds good. Conseiller Jean-Claude Bertin.
Merci, M. Maire. À titre
Jean-Claude
d'information,
asked for information. So the interest rate is on how many years?
Ça, c'est sur Carole là-dessus.
Carole,
15 ans.
15 years. Interest rate, well, we're not, so the process, like, so we got the permission. So I don't know. So are they identifying the rates already? Because what we're getting, it's approval. So we can borrow like for temporary funding, and we'll go to our bank with the confirmation, like what we receive from the commission. So once the project is done, then we go back to the province with the real cost. And what they do like a compilation. So they go see all the municipalities to see if they have requests or needs, like to convert like short-term loans to debenture for long-term, and then they go the market. So we'll only know in the future. Maybe in 18 months from now, during the construction period is 1 year, the province only goes on the debenture twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring. So if we're ready next spring, like to submit the request, we'll be able to do it in the spring. If not, we'll have to wait in the fall. If the trend goes up, like the interest will go down, it might be a good thing for us later. We'll see. So on this note, all in favor, saying aye. Against nay. Carrie, thank you very much. And I just need someone to. Mrs. Colette Boudreau is moving the adjournment of the meeting. Thank you very much and have a good evening.